Tom, I got to ask you first, what is the relationship between oil prices and demand for solar power? Is there a cause and effect here?
No. Very little electricity is produced from oil, so in fact, less than 10%. So the correlation is pretty much non-existent. It's mostly sort of the energy sector, and it's mostly an investor reaction. In terms of business, has no impact virtually whatsoever on our business.
Well, talking about the market impact, we have seen the energy overall as a sector struggle. Yieldcos as well, they're publicly listed holding companies of renewable energy assets, and SunEdison has struggled very much. How does that impact market perception of alt energy?
Well, I think you get this sort of view of the whole sector, and you get sector trading, which in the big picture doesn't make a ton of sense because, as you pointed out in your introduction, there's such a massive opportunity. We're talking about trillions of dollars going to be invested in solar in the next 25 years. Sunpower is differentiated as a big innovation engine, world record module, really well positioned. So we need to break out of the pack. I believe we will, and it'll just take some time. In terms of the yieldco, of course, you've got MLPs and yieldcos kind of being grouped together. Again, it's sort of a group trade. In time, I think the quality performers will separate. We've only been public for 7 or 8 months, so we need a little bit of time there, and I think we'll separate as well.
So talk a little bit about the growth prospects for you. Where is the growth, considering power purchase agreements with utilities are fairly thin?
Growth is actually fantastic. We guided over 30% growth year on year, and we're just beginning. I mean, the size of the opportunity going forward, you've got the ITC extension, you've got COP21, you've got favorable rulings in California on net metering. So the market, the macro market backdrop is rather phenomenal. Now, of course, that attracts competition, and so you have to be an innovator. You have to have that long-term advantage that we have, being in the industry for 30 years, so that you can be differentiated and a preferential player. But in terms of growth, it's phenomenal.
You mentioned COP21. That was really the historic climate change deal that was agreed to in Paris. What are the implementation risks of that?
Well, it's not going to be that predictable. And the timing isn't going to be that predictable. So the risk would be sort of timing, and of the almost 200 countries, which ones will be first. But we're already seeing, look at China implemented more solar last year than America has cumulatively. And that has a lot to do with decarbonizing their energy markets. So COP21 is going to be a big deal because you're talking about 200 countries, but to your point, it's not clear which ones are first and at what pace, but in terms of a long-term trend, really big deal.
You've also said that you wanted your company to monetize solar rooftop assets in asset-backed securities. Fascinating. How does that even work, and where are you in that?
Well, think of it this way. You sell leases to residential customers. They sign a commitment for 20 years. They have high FICO scores, so they're high credit worthy. So that's an asset that you have those payment streams. And then you leverage that asset, or you create debt, and you pledge those payment streams. And since they're such high quality, and because you're getting the world's best solar system, the Sunpower system, the risk premium is really low, and it's a way of generating cash so that you can do more of the lease business, and done well, it's a virtuous upcycle.
I'm going to ask you a little bit about a hypothetical, because obviously December 2015 was a really good month for solar power with the Paris Climate Change Pact and also the budget deal on solar credit. Gaze into your crystal ball for us for 2017. We're going to have a new presidential administration. What kind of changes do you anticipate with a new White House?
You know, the trend, I think, is unstoppable. I like to say that the horse has left the barn. Solar has gotten to the scale where costs are competitive to the grid in a lot of places without subsidies. So the idea of solar being mainstream, I think, is going to happen, and it's a question of pace and where. So politics in America have been incredibly favorable. President Obama has been great for renewables. It's created tons of jobs.
Right.
It's grown the industry. If there's a change, I don't think it changes abruptly, because what we want is customer choice, and we want economic energy.